D Mace Vingan and Donick 1025, the game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Bingen, and David Janes here with you on a sweltering Tuesday in our fair city. I was out at Titans practice today.
Your fault.
Hey, I do it for the show.
I know. For the
I
love.
do it for the people.
For the love.
I wanted to be out there. I wanted to see practice for myself since the Titans were out of town for 2 weeks. I also wanted to see if there was going to be another kerfuffle. By the way, because Teron Davenport disliked the word kerfuffle so much, should we add kerfuffle to the list of banned words and phrases on our program?
We got to think about that. I like kerfuffle.
For those of you who are new to our program, I decided that we should ban certain words and phrases on our program. The list so far: generational, the word generational.
Yes.
As in generational talent, that is banned from our show. The phrase checks all the boxes has been banned from our show.
Mm-hmm.
We had a suggestion on the text line the other day. Skins on the wall.
Ooh.
Should be banned from our show.
Ooh. What do you think about that,
that,
Willie? What do you think about that?
I think there's something to that.
Okay.
I think we need to come up with a better way to say that.
But I don't think we use skins on the walls skin on the wall a lot. Skins on the wall.
We have used it.
Have we? I know we've used it, but I'm saying, have we used it ad
I don't think
nauseum?
we overuse it.
I think if we're cutting edge, though, we ban it before it becomes even close to being overused.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'm agree. It's 2-1. So
okay,
we are moving forward.
Skins on the wall, banned.
Okay.
And
good.
There's one more. What's the other one that's banned?
Generational.
We said generational. We said skins on the wall now. We said checks off the boxes.
Yeah, checks all the boxes. What else?
There's one more, and I have to think of it.
Someone remind us.
Banned.
Someone
Yes.
remind us. 615-737-1025. We'll talk about kerfuffle. Teron did not like the word kerfuffle. But speaking of Teron Davenport, who I saw today at Titans practice, he and Jeremy Fowler had a lengthy story on ESPN.com today. The headline: Cam Ward, Brian Callahan, and the Tennessee Titans historically worrying challenge. Have Titans learned from Caleb Williams and Bryce Young issues? So this is a long story, of course, talking about what the Titans are about to embark on with Cam Ward and Brian Callahan in Ward's rookie season. There's a lot in here about what went wrong with Bryce Young in Carolina. Frank Reich, who was Bryce Young's coach briefly in Carolina, is quoted extensively in this story. There's a lot about Caleb Williams. We are going to dig into this story throughout the next couple of days because there is a lot in here that is worth discussing. But I want to start today on what I think is probably the most newsworthy aspect of this story. And I will read here from Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler, quote, "Deepening the intrigue is an organization that has faced its share of turmoil after firing a key figurehead in 3 straight cycles. General Manager John Robinson in December of 2022, Coach Mike Vrabel in January of 2024, and Robinson's replacement Ran Carthon in January 2025. Of late, the organizational timeline resembles scribbles in a child's coloring book, which I chuckled when I read for the first time. The franchise hired Chad Brinker from Green Bay as assistant general manager in February 2023, a month after hiring Carthon as GM, only to promote both figures after the 2023 season, naming Brinker the president of football operations and Carthon a vice president. A year after that, Tennessee owner Amy Adams Strunk fired Carthon on January 7th, then turned to Brinker to fix the problem. Brinker handpicked Mike Borgonzi, a longtime Kansas City lieutenant, as GM. Both Borgonzi and Brinker come from places that value longevity, which requires patience. Now, here is the key graph. Again, from Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler on ESPN.com. Quote, "There was consideration given to completely cleaning house and sending Callahan on his way along with Carthon. Multiple Titan sources confirmed. Callahan and Carthon had a close relationship, and having the number 1 pick gave Tennessee an opportunity to bring in a new general manager, coach, and rookie quarterback at the same time. But the front office took an honest look at the talent on the roster and factored that into Callahan's record in his first season. The front office didn't lose sight of Callahan being one of the league's in-demand coaching candidates, I should say, when the Titans hired him. So that is the most newsworthy aspect of this story from a Titans perspective. There was consideration given to completely cleaning house and sending Callahan on his way along with Carthon, according to multiple Titans sources. But the front office took an honest look at the talent on the roster and factored that into Callahan's record in his first season. So, not that I think any of us are surprised to hear that the Titans considered firing Brian Callahan, but Willie, when you read this great story by Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler, and I recommend all of you to go to ESPN.com and read this whole thing because it's chock full of great information. What did you make of that portion of it when you read it for the first time?
Well, that part didn't surprise me because I think at the time we heard quite a bit of that, and that wasn't really the best part of the story. It's a very detailed story. There was a lot that I found very relevant. To me, that wasn't a bombshell because he was in his first year and because, look, that's what should have happened. I don't understand why you would bring in a coach and then fire him after 1 year based on the talent that was there. What I did find most interesting was some of the pitfalls that the Panthers and then last year's version of the Bears fell into. Now, the Bears did make the change and are starting fully all over with a second-year quarterback. So they did fire the coach in the first year, and the Panthers did fire the coach. I think that's kind of why it's a little bit more realistic than for me, where I just think unless you completely have no idea what you're doing, then I don't see why you would fire a coach after 1 year, especially one with Callahan's building blocks that put him in the running as maybe the most sought after head coach on the market. Let's not forget that when he was out on the market, the Titans accelerated their process by firing Vrabel early, doing the interviews early so that they could get to Callahan. So unless they completely botched the interview process and misread Callahan's ability, to fire him after 1 year where they had as little talent as they did wouldn't have made any sense to me.
No, and the more you look at it, I don't think when you come in as a head coach and you assess the roster, because I know the question was asked of Brian Callahan, when he took the job, did he get a chance to evaluate the roster? Have you seen it? But have you really taken a deep dive into it? And I'm not quite sure. I know his answer wasn't a blatant yes, but I'm sure it was sort of, yeah, I've looked at the roster, haven't taken a deep dive, but I know we got some players, yada, yada, yada. But when you actually get here, you look at the roster and you say, man, it's worse than what I thought. And on top of that, because Frank Wright did talk about, listen, I knew the task I was taking on and I knew the vision, but was everybody's vision the same within that building, and on that coaching staff? Well, if you look at it over the last 3 seasons or 2 seasons, nobody's vision has been the same. Why? Because she keep firing people. And Miss Amy has a right to fire, anybody she chooses to if she don't believe the job is getting done. But you went through 3 GMs basically in 3 years. And it didn't seem like there was a shared vision. Or when they said it was, it all didn't come along. It all didn't align the way it should have been. And if you fire a coach, say like Brian Callahan after 1 year, that tells me, again, y'all vision didn't align. Because if it did, you would give him time to develop the quarterback. If everybody's on the same road and we're looking in the same direction, and yet still you fire a guy after one season with a quarterback, then y'all vision wasn't aligned. You said it was, but it wasn't. And I'm afraid that's where we're going to be with the Titans after this season, if indeed the visions are not aligned.
That's why I really think the best thing for the franchise is to ride it out even through the tough times. And I think they're very likely to have a lot of very tough times. It's going to look ugly, but I'm going in with the assumption, or the belief, I should say, not the assumption, but the belief that it's not going to look ugly because they're poorly coached. Their roster is bad, and it's bad because they've had 5 drafts in a row that have yielded very little. 3 that yielded basically Roger McCreary, and that's it. That's 3 drafts where you got Roger McCreary, and that's it, 20 to 22. Then 23 and 24, you've got maybe a little something. Let's see, Skoronski, Latham, Sweat. But that's 2 more drafts where you've got 3 players total, and then maybe a couple of pieces here and there. And then hopefully this past draft is the start of something. But when you have a roster that low, 28 out of 32 is being kind. The power rankings came out today on ESPN. They're dead last. So how could the coach look good? But you have to look past that if you're ownership, and you have to say what's best for the young quarterback. They've got one chance to be good in the next few years, and that's if Cam Ward is good. They've put everything behind him. So I think history has shown that when you are slashing and burning around a young quarterback, it can destroy the quarterbacks. There's a line in that story that's really good. The adage of there are far more quarterbacks who are failed by the organization than fail themselves, or something to that effect. You don't want to be the next one in line of that. There's too many cautionary tales. Learn from it.
And one thing that we absolutely do know, and this story points it out, is that teams that start rookie quarterbacks don't win a lot.
They don't win.
According to this story, teams that start rookie QBs in the NFL's 32-team era, so since 2002, so we have more than 20 years of data, teams that start rookie quarterbacks are a combined 431, 655, and 2, a winning percentage of 397. Again, 397. The list of number 1 selections with winning records in a minimum of 3 starts as rookie quarterbacks in the common draft era is one name long: Andrew Luck in 2012.
And that's a special set of circumstances, right? We know why. Not only was he really good, and he was,
but his roster was good.
But they had a good team that sunk all the way to the bottom because they didn't have Peyton Manning for the 1 year, and then the remnants of that were still there, which put them in a better position to succeed. So that list to me is much more pertinent than even the big long list of rookies, because that includes that's not a great winning record. I mean, that's not a great record to start with, 397, but that includes guys picked maybe in the lower part of the first round, the Joe Flacco's, the Ben Roethlisbergers, who jumped in on a good team.
Right. It's not isolated to number 1 overall.
Number 1 pick. You have to remember that you're inheriting the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
And you're a rookie quarterback. It's fraught with disaster.
ESPN does have data for most rookie wins by a number 1 overall quarterback since 1967. The aforementioned Andrew Luck, 11 wins in 2012. Sam Bradford, 7 wins with the Rams in 2010. Baker Mayfield, Jameis Winston, Cam Newton, and Jim Plunkett, 6 wins each in 2018, 2015, 2011, and 1971, respectively.
In 1971, they only played 14 games. So that was 6 and 8, I guess.
Yeah.
So not too bad.
But I think the trend is when you see teams that win, let's just say 6 or more games, usually their roster isn't it's bad, but it's not a total depletion of the roster. Last year, I believe, was a total depletion of the Tennessee Titans roster, and it showed. I think this season, even though the roster isn't great, I think it's better than last year's roster. So, 6 games should be sort of the thought when you're looking at the Titans and saying how many games are they going to win. Well, if you're judging it by the last, what was it, 7 guys that were number one picks, they either had a really good roster, Andrew Luck, or an okay roster, but not horrible like the Titans were a year ago. I don't think this roster is a really good roster, but I think it's a roster that's much better than it was last year.
615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We are digging into this story by Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler on ESPN.com. Cam Ward, Brian Callahan, and the Tennessee Titans' historically worrying challenge. We'll take your thoughts on that. But coming up next, Chad Brinker is quoted in this story multiple times. There is a word that Chad Brinker used in a quote in this story about Brian Callahan that I have zeroed in on. And I want to discuss that one word and what it means to all of us when it comes to Brian Callahan in year 2. 615-737-1025 later today on ESPN 94.9 The Fan. The Nashville Sounds take on Louisville at First Horizon Park. First pitch is at 6:35. Coverage is also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Sounds Baseball on ESPN 94.9 The Fan is presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House, conveniently located at Opry Mills Mall. Enjoy beer, food, music, and fun at Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, where it's Oktoberfest every day. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you, talking this great story on ESPN.com, written by our friend Teron Davenport, as well as Jeremy Fowler. There's a lot to get into in this story. We're probably going to break it apart, talk a little today, talk a little tomorrow. Some really interesting philosophical discussions coming out of this story. But first, let's go to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com and welcome in Adam in Portland. Adam, thank you for waiting. Please go ahead.
Man, I think it's the first time I got to talk to you since y'all moved back here. I'm curious. So if it's a sub 400 winning percentage for those quarterbacks, let me ask you this, Adam, because I know you're a big statistician. You're very black and white. There's no gray area when it comes to numbers. What positions do they draft overall number one? It's quarterback, sometimes the defensive end, a corner, and maybe a tackle. Is there anybody I'm leaving?
In terms of which positions normally get drafted number one overall? Adam,
That's what he was asking.
Thank you for the call, Adam.
I'll look it up real quick.
I would imagine quarterbacks are probably the most drafted players number one overall. Which position would you guys?
I would say
throw in there as
running
well?
back, because I think the history of the league, I think
Well, you got to go way back.
I
Way
think it
back,
may
the
be
running
running
backs were
backs.
pretty common.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adam, text in and let me know what you were
No,
trying
I
to
think
say.
that's what he was asking, but I'm not sure where he was going once we established that.
Yeah.
I do think the recent years,
Edge rushers, I think, are probably up there.
left tackles, I would say, there's been a few of those.
It's a good question. I'm not sure where Adam was going with that. Adam, text us back. Let us know where you were going with that. But
Okay, the last 3 years, it's been a quarterback,
Mhm.
Ward, Williams, and Young. Trayvon Walker,
defensive end.
defensive end. So let's go 7 of the last 8 and 9 of the last 11 have been quarterbacks. The other 3 years, it's been an edge rusher, Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, and Trayvon Walker. So the last 12 years, 9 quarterbacks and 3 edge rushers.
There was an offensive tackle in there somewhere,
Eric
right?
Fisher,
Eric Fisher.
by the Chiefs, famously.
Yes.
And then before that, from 09 to 12, a quarterback all 4 of those years. So it's become an enormous. So you said the league went to 32 teams in 02.
Yes.
I'm looking for a line of demarcation here, but man, you go back to even 1989 with Troy Aikman. It's the vast majority a quarterback is first, but especially since 1998.
Mhm.
So that's the beginning. That's sort of the beginning of the tight. So Peyton Manning, Tim Couch, Michael. Man, it is.
Dylan on our text line.
3 of every 4. at
Dylan on our
least.
text
quarterback,
line
so-
says out
Yeah.
of the past 20 drafts, a quarterback has gone number one overall 16 times. So 16 of the past 20,
Wow.
according to Dylan. Let's go to
And so that put that in perspective to this number you gave in the last segment for people just joining us. 1 quarterback has had a winning record the first year. 1.
Andrew Luck, 11 wins. Let's go to Jared in Spring Hill on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jared, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. I'm just going to since nobody really is taking this perspective, I'm just playing the counter, the devil's advocate here. But if I was looking at it, right, Callahan took over a better team than the worst team in the league. Am I right? Like he took over 5 or 6 win team, and Vrabel was fired.
But they were starting to see the decline.
Yeah.
I
At that
understand.
point, they were closing the window on the era that included Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Kevin Byard. All of that nucleus had aged out, and they
Right.
had drafts of nothing. Remember? So you put those two
Yeah.
things
Well,
together, that's what he inherited.
They aged out here. They're still playing, but they're still good. Also, too,
Ryan
like,
Tannehill is still good?
I mean, he'd probably be better than Will Levis that last year. I mean, I don't know.
What
but
team is he playing for?
I mean, again, he wants to be a starter somewhere. I'm not necessarily sure.
He's not playing.
But-
He's
Okay,
done.
well, I have more points. It's not just
Okay.
how do you explain the special teams debacles from last year that cost him so many games? Like, that is a direct indictment on the head coach and not holding his assistant player or assistant coaches accountable. To me, there's really still, and there was, a lack of an identity on offense. There's not a lot of consistency. And, to me, Will Levis wasn't doing any of that dumb crap that he did last year whenever Vrabel was there. So if I'm just only taking this approach because content, but at the same time, I feel like there are enough grounds there to move on to where it makes it so where this offensive guru, kind of did not live up to the luster that he was given. And again, I think it's a delicate balance to assess. And I think it's going to be interesting this year moving forward. What are some measurables that's going to make sure that they're all going to be on the same page regardless? Because I do think longevity is key. But I also think that there was also enough evidence out there that would suggest that he definitely was underqualified for the job last year. And there's plenty of growing pains that we all had to endure that he should not have escaped scrutiny from. And again, I'm just playing the devil's advocate, but I appreciate it. And I think the other one was no hot takes on the banned word, right? No hot takes.
I don't know if we ban that.
Yeah.
But we might have to.
Oh, okay. All right.
I just nothing wrong with an occasional hot take. I have a problem with a hot take every 5
Jared.
minutes, feeling like you have to have a hot take every day. Hot takes should be organic.
Mm-hmm.
He's right about that last part. That's a very good point. You don't get a free pass because it's your second year.
Mm-hmm.
You do deserve the scrutiny that a head coach deserves. He's a young head coach. The special teams thing is an absolute fact. The penalties, the turnovers, the lack of discipline, the pre-snap penalties, that does reflect poorly on the head coach, and that's got to get better.
I think Jared's call there is a nice segue into what I wanted us to discuss in this segment. So again, in this article on ESPN.com by our friend Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler, they report there was consideration given to completely cleaning house and sending Callahan on his way along with Rand Carthon. But the front office took an honest look at the talent on the roster and factored that into Callahan's record in his first season. The front office didn't lose sight of Callahan being one of the league's in-demand coaching candidates when the Titans hired him. There is a quote from Chad Brinker here, and there is a word I want us to discuss. Quote, "We wanted to give him that opportunity to grow as a head football coach," Brinker told ESPN. "We felt like another year to grow into that, and we're going to need to see that growth. We believe in Brian, and we think he's going to get there, so that's why he was retained." The word is grow or growth. We wanted to give him that opportunity to grow. We felt like another year to grow into that, and we're going to need to see that growth. So here's the question for both of you and all of you, 615-737-1025. What constitutes growth? Because there are going to be plenty of Titans fans who say your record is what shows if you are, quote unquote, growing as a head coach. But as we just discussed, rookie quarterbacks rarely win. They're not going to win more often than not. Again, the only rookie quarterback with a winning record. Let me find this exact stat so that I make sure that I share it. Yes, it is Andrew Luck, but I just want to share it. Per ESPN research, teams that start rookie quarterbacks are a combined 431, 655, and 2 in the NFL's 32-team era since 2002. That is a winning percentage of 397. The list of number one selections with winning records, minimum 3 starts as rookie quarterbacks in the common draft era, which goes back to the 1960s, is one name long, Andrew Luck. So winning, it's probably not much in the Titans' future, at least this season. So, Derek, when you hear Chad Brinker say, we want to see him grow, Callahan, that is, we want to see growth. When you hear that word, growth, what does Brian Callahan have to show you to prove to you that he is growing as a coach in year 2?
I just got to see the development of the quarterback. I know that wins and losses are things people can see. And, rightfully so. That's what a lot of fans pay attention to, You can brag about your team because your wins and losses, not, oh, we're developing our quarterback. No. How many games did you win? That's what people want to know. So wins and losses, that's a tangible thing. I can see it. Like the fans can see it. But I think those things that Brinkert and Borgonzi are talking about are the things that you may not see right away, um, but eventually you will. The growth of the quarterback, it's not linear. Every quarterback doesn't develop the same and grow the same. Some get on the fast track and they figure it out very quickly, i.e., whether it's Jaden Daniels, or, Bo Nix, quarterbacks like that. And I'm just talking about the last couple of years. Or it may take, a minute, Baker Mayfield. I hope it don't take 3 or 4 years, but you see what I'm saying? Every development of a quarterback doesn't look the same. But if he is developing, and because I've always said that development brings wins, you can't win, I don't think, the way you want to if the development doesn't come. Like, you can't win 8, 9, 10 games if the quarterback isn't developing and you don't have a roster. That's where the Titans are at. I can't see them winning no more than 6 or 7 games or 6 games if the quarterback's not developing. If they are in that 6, 7, 8 game win sort of wins, then that's telling me too that the quarterback is developing. But they may end up with 5 wins. Okay, but in those 5 wins, what did the quarterback do? And was the quarterback the reason why you lost games? We could say last year the quarterback was the reason. If Cam is doing the things that they're asking them to do, that's why I was so, ready to get on the air Monday, because what was coming out Saturday or Friday night wasn't what I saw. People were looking at the numbers. I was looking at how it actually happened. I saw development in that. So I'm okay with it. If I didn't see that and those numbers were on there, then I would be concerned. But I'm not concerned. This kid is developing. That's what Borgonzi wants to see, and that's what Brinker wants to see. They understand this roster isn't where it needs to be. They understand that. But if we can develop our quarterback, then we could be like the Cincinnati Bengals. As the quarterback is developing, we get us some, a few receivers here and there. Man, we can be on that fast track.
I think they can understand it, but the question is, does Amy understand it?
That's the thing.
With the ticket selling and the stadium happening, and you're going to have some loud people that don't want to hear any of what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to say, hey, they're 3-14 for a second straight year. We got to get rid of this coach. They're going to have to look past that. I think Brinker and Borgonzi can do that and see what you're looking for, Derek. That's what I'm hoping for. But there's going to be pressure. And Amy is the key. Amy is the key. For me, I would add this, Adam. I do want to see progress in pre-snap penalties, turnover margin, special teams, and red zone play. Those are areas where they were towards the bottom in every category. I'd like to see them better on the margins there.
615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Chad Brinker tells ESPN the reason why Brian Callahan is back for year 2 is, quote, we wanted to give him that opportunity to grow as a head football coach. So to all of you, what constitutes growth? What must you see from Brian Callahan as a coach to be confident that he is growing as a head football coach? 615-737-1025. We've got plenty of reaction. We will get to you as soon as we get back. Before we do that, be a hero and save a life tomorrow at the 12th Annual Williamson County Battle of the Badges Blood Drive. The drive will be held at Brentwood Concord Road Library tomorrow from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And 1025 The Game will be on hand from noon to 2 with swag to give away and a chance to win free concert tickets. D. Mace, Finn, Ginadonic, 1025. The Game, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen here with you, talking Brian Callahan. Chad Brinker tells ESPN that the reason why the Titans brought back Brian Callahan as head coach is because, quote, we wanted to give him that opportunity to grow as a head football coach. We felt like another year to grow into that, and we're going to need to see that growth. We believe in Brian, and we think he's going to get there, so that's why he was retained. So my question to all of you at 615-737-1025 is, what constitutes growth for Brian Callahan in year 2? What must you see? I know some of you may think a better win-loss record, as we already have shown you. Rookie quarterbacks don't win a lot. But I want to know what constitutes growth for you. Let's start with George, who has been waiting patiently on our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. George, thank you for waiting. Please go ahead.
Thanks, guys, for taking my call. Surely we all want wins, and I understand that, but I actually will measure his growth by 3 factors. 1, preparedness, and that includes adjustments made at halftime. 2, discipline. That's regarding penalties and boneheaded plays. And then the third one, and to me, one of the most important things in football, intensity. I want to see a team out there that's hungry to win, that wants to hit whatever's in front of them. I just want to see them play with passion. To me, that reflects more on the coach than anything else.
Thanks, George. That sounds a lot like your list, Willie.
And some of those are a little bit subjective, the intensity. But I do think, because I would tell you that some of this, and I asked D. Mace these exact questions when I brought up all the numbers. Penalties, bottom 5 in the league, 4th most pre-snap penalties, 2nd most penalties per game, period, 7.8. Dead last in giveaways, 34, tied for the most anyway. 31st in turnover margin, minus 16. Dead last in special teams, 24th in red zone offense, 25th in red zone defense. When you have less talent, you're more likely to finish down in those categories. It's not like even the least talented teams have full control. Like, show me a team that doesn't have much talent. If I'm playing quarterback and as good as D-Mace is at receiver, if you're blocking for me, Adam, and David's blocking for me, I'm probably going to turn the ball over more because I'm not very good and I don't have good protection. As good as Derek might be, I'm probably going to throw some picks. So it's hard to really quantify what's on the coach and what's on the talent he's given. But they've got to be better there. They've got to be better in those areas.
Let's run through some of your reaction on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Benjamin, in terms of what constitutes growth for Brian Callahan in year 2. Benjamin says, Cam Ward developing into a starting quarterback and the O-line being in the top half of the league. Another texter says, growth will look like a well-functioning offense, competent special teams play, and a quarterback who is playing better at the end of the season than at the beginning. Rob on our text line says, to me, growth will be better clock management, better play calling in regards to putting people in the best position to succeed, allowing them to play to their talents, and maybe even holding players and coaches more accountable instead of trying to be the nice guy all the time.
See, that last one, not the last part, but that last text.
Holding coaches more accountable?
No, before that, and that's what I want to see.
You want me to read
it? A well-ran offense.
Okay, let me read it again, and you tell me which point you're. Rob says, to me, growth will be better clock management, better play calling in regards to putting people in the best position to succeed.
That part right there.
Okay.
I understand that part. But here's the thing. I think, and I don't know this for sure, so don't quote me on this, but as I'm watching all these games, and I think we've talked about this before, I think he wanted to do more, but he couldn't
because of Will
do
Levis.
more. Will Levis, the offensive line. That's like having, a car, and I got my car, you got a car that has a bigger engine. I want to beat you, but I can't because I don't have the horsepowers to do it. I may take off real fast, but I can't beat you. I may stay with you for a quarter mile, but I'm not going to beat you in the end. That's where the Titans were last year. And this year, I think he's going to be able, based upon what I've seen from the offensive line, I think he's going to be able to do a little bit more than what he was able to do. It's not that he didn't want to do those things, and the texter's right. That's what you want to see. I don't think he could do those things last year. I think this year, hopefully, from what we've seen, Peter Skoronski look like the best offensive lineman on that team. If that is indeed the case and everybody else is developing it the way it seems they are, then I think he's going to be able to do a lot more this year than he wasn't able to do last year.
Adam in Portland texts in and says, growth would mean we are in all of these games. These are professionals. They may not know how to win yet, but they should be competitive every week. Adam also clarified what he was trying to say before his phone cut out. He said, my point being is that if those positions are decent on your team, meaning the positions that regularly get drafted number 1 overall, my point being is that if those positions are decent on your team, you usually have a good team. I feel like our quarterback is going to be good because he's smart and no one sees him coming. But the other positions, pass rusher sucks. Cornerback sucks. Offensive tackle, questionable. I think Cam could do really well and us still be a horrible team. But I expect him to be really good, especially in our terrible division. But Adam also said growth would mean we are in all of these games. These are professionals. They may not know how to win yet, but they should be competitive every week. Let's go to T-Mac from Murfreesboro on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. T-Mac, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what D. May said, because I remember watching the season last year and, maybe 3 games in and you're looking at Will Levis and you're thinking, nah, he ain't it. He ain't it. And even at that point, I started flirting with the idea, like, do we need to tank so we can just get another quarterback? And maybe that's what happened. Maybe they had to be the worst team so they could get a better quarterback. But I think what I want to see from Callahan, I want to see the decision-making in games. I want to see him play mental chess with the other coach over on the other side, like we would see Mike Vrabel do in a playoff game with the Patriots, playing mental chess with Bill Belichick. And I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, T-Mac.
I mean, you hope that it gets to that point where, and again, I can play sort of this mental chess back and forth with you when I feel I have the pieces to play. But I ain't playing chess with you with checker pieces. I can't do that. So, yeah, we would like him to play those sort of, be able to do those things that like some of those other, well-known coaches have done and continue to do. And when Brian goes against him, you hope that can happen. But if you've given me checker pieces, I can't play chess no matter what. I just can't play it.
It's like that scene from The Wire where they were playing checker on the chessboard.
Yeah, you can't do it.
What a great show. What a great show that
you
was.
love The Wire.
It's a fabulous show. Nevertheless, Willie, there is another part of this story from Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler on ESPN. Quote, the sense on the ground during Tennessee's training camp is that Callahan is well supported and that modest progress could be enough to keep his job beyond this year, depending on how that progress looks. Quote, he was in an incredibly tough situation last year, a team source said, and team officials have noticed Callahan has shown more vocal leadership in year 2, which we might talk a little bit about in the next hour. The objective for the team is clear, just improve. But according to Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler, modest progress could be enough to keep his job beyond this year.
I hope that they're entering in with the hope that he makes it, just because we have documented it. It's a fact. It is historical fact. Now, maybe people don't study history in the Titans front office. I think that somebody probably does and could bring these numbers to the table, how often it hasn't worked when you can the coach right away. So I think you would want him to succeed and not be looking for reasons. Who told us that? Louis Riddick, when we had him on. He said there are a lot of people who are the new regime and they have the holdover coach, and you're looking for reasons to get, quote, your guy in there when you're the ones that have put him in a bad position. right? It's easy to say, well, I know more than this, and so I'm going to get my guy in there. It's not always the solution. So I would hope that you're going in with the hope that he succeeds and doesn't fail. I'm doing a study now. I've got 20 quarterbacks, the last 20, based on Adam's call earlier that got the wheels turning on this. I don't know when we have time to duck this in, but the percentage of the time that the first pick works out satisfactorily to the team, let's calculate in our minds, we can be subjective about it, of how it's worked out. Satisfactory, or you would say, nope, I won't take that for Cam Ward, right? We'll see, because it's so not a slam dunk. I'm going to guess that it's below 50%, your satisfactory rate. So this is a tough thing. Like, what is progress, right? That's the big question. It's subjective.
615-737-1025. We will continue to take your thoughts on this. What constitutes growth for Brian Callahan in year number 2? But coming up next, we talked about this yesterday, a lot yesterday. The scuffle, the dust-up, the confrontation, the kerfuffle, Tehran, between Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons at practice. Jeffrey Simmons addressed it after practice today, and I was left unsatisfied by his response. And I'll explain why. Coming up next, 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Derek Mason here. If you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible or nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. Listen, they understand how much your bike gear is worth to you and will help you get it all repaired or better yet replaced. Law Tigers is the resource the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support you at an event or if they see you broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fusen, and you can find them in Nashville at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D. Mace Fingan and Donick 1025, the game broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. As you all know, there was a commotion at Titans practice yesterday. A skirmish, a scuffle, a confrontation, maybe even a kerfuffle.
Or a rhubarb.
Between Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons.
I like rhubarb.
I like rhubarb a lot more.
Again,
It's such a good one. It's such a good word.
Again, I associate rhubarb with rhubarb pie.
I get it.
Willie got me on rhubarb.
He went deep.
He
That's
did.
why I like it.
Bravo, my friend. That's
I
the
like it.
big ass word bell.
Exactly.
If we're looking for a sponsor for our big ass word bell. So
Yes.
anybody who wants
any
to together
doorbell companies
at cromwellmedia.com.
Exactly.
So Jeffrey Simmons and Cam Ward did not address reporters yesterday. Brian Callahan addresses reporters before practice. So nobody talked on this. Well, other players did. We played clips from Jarvis Brownlee. Other players addressed it. But the people involved, Jeffrey Simmons, Cam Ward, and by extension, Brian Callahan, did not address the skirmish at practice. Jeffrey Simmons last night on X addressed it by saying this, quote, LOL, yeah, y'all doing way too much. It's practice. It's football. Blank happens between the lines. But y'all letting these reporters blow up something that happened at practice says a lot. Trust me and one, meaning Cam Ward, is good. So after practice today, I was at practice, and the way it works during training camp is that reporters approach players as they are leaving the practice field. You can't go in the locker room yet. So there were a lot of reporters lingering around Jeffrey Simmons because they wanted to get his side of the story. We're going to play what Jeffrey Simmons said, and then I'm going to share with you a couple of things I did not like about it. Here is what Jeffrey Simmons said in response to the dust-up with Cam Ward at practice.
Yeah, if you feel like yesterday crossed the line because
I'm going to go ahead and address it. I'm going to address it. At the end of the day, yeah, quarterback, hands off the quarterback. Anybody on this team know, everybody in their locker room know, I love the hell out of my guys. Happened at practice. People on the outside, you guys, y'all blowing it up. Shouldn't get blown up. The training camp, temper flares, move on. At the end of the day, can't touch the quarterback. It's the same thing. If we joint practice and somebody touch our quarterback, trust me, I'm going to be the first one in there. So I respect the hell out of our offense for having their quarterback back, having our quarterback back. But at the end of the day, it's football. We, offensive line, defensive line, trenches, it's hot, temper flare. We all tired. At the end of the day, we family. We moved on from it. We're not going to keep talking about it each and every day. It happened yesterday. We came back to work as a team. Yesterday, we left it on the field. Came back, got the correction, moved on.
So hands off.
I'm done talking about it. That's it. Any football questions, that's that.
So hands off the quarterback. You
Next
put your
question.
hands on the quarterback, and it's our fault.
Anybody got a football question?
That's a football question, Jeff.
So that was Jeffrey Simmons addressing the skirmish with Cam Ward at practice. That was today after practice. And there are a couple of things I did not like about it. And I was there. I was standing right behind Paul Kaharski when he asked those questions, which I did elicit a chuckle from me when he said, those are football questions, Jeff, which is true. Paul is right. There were a couple of things.
He's at a football practice standing on a football field.
Yes.
In theory, anything is a football question.
Correct.
And it happened on a football field.
That too. There are a couple of things I did not like about Jeffrey Simmons's response. The first is blaming the media, in scare quotes, the media. There is a lot of distrust, I would say, involving the media in this country. So blaming the media is an easy target because if you blame the media, you're probably going to get a lot of support. So I did not like Jeffrey Simmons blaming the media for, quote unquote, blowing up what happened at practice. Now, I know that some of you agree with Jeffrey Simmons. It wasn't a big deal. Boys will be boys. It's 100 degrees outside. It's football practice. Tempers flared, all of those things. And you would be right about that. But that does not, let me rephrase that. This is still a story. When the number one overall pick in the NFL draft, who is a quarterback, gets in a skirmish with the best player on the team, one of the best players at his position in the NFL. That is a story.
Right. And so it's really not about what Jeffrey Simmons thinks
Mm-mm.
is a story. The fact is it was the lead heading on ESPN's website. That's usually a measure I look at. It was the number one item on their newsreel. So by definition, that's a story.
It is absolutely a story. Now, I can only speak for the three of us. We discussed it yesterday. I don't think we were blowing it out of proportion, but it is a story. When the number one overall pick in the NFL draft, who also happens to be a quarterback, gets into a training camp scuffle with the best player on the team, that is a story. So that's the first thing I didn't like from Jeffrey Simmons' response. And I am careful to criticize players who I have not covered because I don't know Jeffrey Simmons. And to quote the late, great Floyd Reese, Jeffrey Simmons would not know me from a jar of Vicks. So I am careful to criticize players who I do not cover. But that was the first thing I didn't like, blaming the media. Here's the second thing I didn't like, the not taking questions. Now, Jeffrey Simmons may have felt that he addressed everything that was going to be asked in that statement he gave when reporters approached him. And we have had a lot of conversations, gentlemen, about Jeffrey Simmons's leadership qualities and whether or not he is a good leader. But the Titans portray Jeffrey Simmons as a leader. I imagine Jeffrey Simmons considers himself a leader. Leaders answer questions. So the next question. Anybody got a football question? I have no time for that. If you consider yourself a leader, again, you all may not think Jeffrey Simmons is a leader. The Titans appear to believe that Jeffrey Simmons is a leader. Again, I am going to assume that Jeffrey Simmons has taken it upon himself to be a leader as a veteran on the team, one of the best players on the team. I assume Jeffrey Simmons has taken it upon himself to be a leader, to take on a leadership role. Leaders answer questions. I did not like that. Other than that, I think he said what a lot of us wanted to hear, I think, in that response. I did not like the way that Simmons conducted himself after practice.
See, I mean, I understand and get it. Maybe it was, because Paul asked the question. And
I think
he and Paul's
you've hit on
relationship isn't the best either.
One texter, Caleb, says PK not respecting the next question is right on brand, and
Yeah,
I love
so
it.
They don't. It's pretty
Exactly.
obvious that
they have
there's a
something
thing
going on.
There's a
Yeah.
thing between that runs back a long time. Let's say
Exactly.
a long
So
time.
I think it may have been part of that. I'm not going to excuse, but I'm not going to excuse it. Listen, I think this is what I would advise, Jeff. There are a bunch of smart individuals over there in the media relations department. There were smart people there years ago. But I think in this situation, it's not necessarily what you say, it's how you say things. And I would just offer this advice to Jeff. When you are clearly the outside of the quarterback, you are clearly the face of this franchise. Whether you want to be or not, you are the face of this franchise outside of Cam Ward. You are the biggest personality on this team. And when you are the biggest personality on this team and you are the face of the franchise, usually that goes to the quarterback, but you are that guy. I think quarterbacks are built for this when they're little. This is for some reason, quarterbacks and the great ones, they were just like they were made to be quarterbacks and lead. Not so much like defensive linemen, because they're different type dudes. Wide receivers, they're different type dudes. We lead in our own way. Defensive line, they lead in their own way. But Jeff, you are the face of the franchise outside the quarterback. And what I would advise you to do is this. When these questions are asked, you can just simply answer it the way, what you said wasn't as bad. It got sort of contentious at the end, and I know why. But you can clearly get through this by saying exactly what you said. But then saying, hey, listen, We're good. Any more questions? All right, Jeff. Well, what? Hey, listen, I'm going to keep on answering the questions, but Cam and I are okay. Things are perfect.
Right.
We're moving on to the next day. Yes, it happens. And I understand it. We talked about it. The coach and I talked about it. That's between us. But that will not happen again in regards to my quarterback. But we're fine. I understand why y'all are upset. I get it. But that will not happen. We're in heat of battle. I should have restrained myself, but it happened. But we've moved on. Now, if y'all want to continue to ask me these questions, great. But I'm telling you that I am done answering the questions about the quarterback. Plain and simple. I think when you say it like that, then if you still want to answer the questions, then fine. But I've already warned you, like,
Yep.
hey, listen, I understand
I
why y'all want to
refer
know.
to my answer that I just gave you.
Absolutely.
In a nice
That's all you got to
way,
do.
say that. Yeah, politely say, I've answered that. I'll repeat it again. Maybe one time you say, I'll repeat it again. Cam and I are good. I shouldn't have put my hands on him, but it was a competitive practice.
Exactly.
You could tell that they had done their preparation. He was prepared for that. Like as the question's coming, he's like, I got it. I know what you're going to ask. Let me give you my answer. He went through it. It wasn't the smoothest thing. I even think that he sounded a little bit like he was just off the field.
Yeah, he was
and a little
tired,
out of breath.
Yeah, out of breath.
He's tired. You're not going to be super clear and crisp.
Hold on, Willie.
With
fellas,
your talk. Take your time.
Yes, fellas.
They'll wait on you.
They will wait on you. I've said this a million times. They will wait on you. They don't press you. If Jeff, I guarantee you, Jeffrey, if you would have sat there for 5 to 10 minutes, nobody would have moved.
Just to collect your thoughts a little bit more and be ready, because he knows that this is one.
Exactly.
It's not your run of the mill. Yeah, we got after it today. We had a good practice. Like, everybody knows what he's going to ask. So the tone, I think also you can diffuse if you're not defensive, and you can laugh it off a little bit. Cam and I had a good laugh after practice. Some guys are better than others at being able to do this. So, Adam, I agree with you. It's never a good thing to say next question. I think, to Derek's point, if you can achieve the same thing. You're not offering any new information. You're repeating politely and say, I've already answered that. I'll refer back to what I just said, etc. You're offering nothing new in the subject, and people get the message. And then the final thing I would say too is, I think too that he's defensive because of what has happened before, right? I think he's got it built up. Instead of taking a deep breath and relaxing, he's just not adept. Even the media, like you said, the media relations can take you so far, but then you've got to be able to execute it. And some guys are better than others. And I do think that Jeffrey Simmons has a little bit of distrust in some of the media that covers it, for right or wrong, right? I'm not saying who's right and who's wrong with that, but there's a little bit of angst going in and defensiveness on the front end, right? And so you knew there was going to be a follow-up. He should have known there was going to be a follow-up, right?
Exactly. And this is why I think, and maybe again, they went over it, or maybe they thought it's not a big deal and they didn't talk to Jeffrey about it. If they did that as a media relation department, then that was completely wrong.
Right. Because you can say, I didn't think it was as big a deal,
exactly.
but you acknowledge that it was the number one story on the ticker.
It's a big deal.
ESPN.
Exactly. It's a big deal anytime you get into it with a quarterback.
Especially
it's a big deal.
The number one overall pick in the NFL draft.
During training camp, where there's no other news going on. It's a slow news day. So that it vaults up the ticker. It's not Monday after a slate of NFL games, right? There's nothing going on. There's no college games. There's nothing. So that's why you have to treat it accordingly.
Jeff just got, Jeff, I think he just needs to understand that whether he wants this or not, there is a huge microscope on you right now. And I mean big. Whether you like it or not, Jeff, and anything that happens concerning you it will be magnified. Do I, as a former player, think it was a big thing? No, I don't. And I said that yesterday. But to other people that are writing stories and are reporting on the team that you are the biggest leader on, and it involves you, then it's going to happen, Jeff. So whatever question may have came your way this morning, I just think that you could have saved yourself a lot of heartache or a lot of whatever if you would have just came out today and answered it the way you answered it, but reiterate, hey, listen, it's over with, we're done. If you want to ask me about it again, I will repeat the same things I did. Cam and I are fine. We're fine. It happens. I shouldn't have put my hands on my quarterback. It will never happen again. But things like that happen. We're good. That's all you had to say. I think he said in a roundabout way, but I think PK really got on his twisted. But that's between he and PK. Yes,
that is a big factor in this, and it's unfortunately it's much more on the athlete to get over that.
Exactly,
because the journalist will, unless
he's
it's
just
really
doing his job.
Line,
he's doing his job.
PK is being PK. But if you listen to his answer, Adam, would you agree that you could tell the bullet points are in there of what he wanted to say?
Yes,
he said it a few times.
Yes,
so that was okay. So if I'm doing a media relations training, I wouldn't give him a failing grade.
No.
I would give him about a C. That was an opportunity to diffuse something, and he missed on a chance to do that.
In my experience, there are players who do not pay attention to what is written or said about them. There are players who don't pay attention themselves, but people in their lives do. And those people in their lives, family members, friends, will send them these things, or they will relay them secondhand. Things will be lost in context. And then there are players, there are athletes who do read and hear everything that is said about them. I am fairly confident from afar, with that caveat, from afar, that Simmons falls into the final category. Jeffrey Simmons reads and hears everything that is said about him. I get the sense that Jeffrey Simmons, sorry, Derek. I get the sense that Jeffrey Simmons cares how he is perceived. And that is why I think his natural inclination is to take a defensive posture when dealing with the media. Now, for example, after that exchange that we heard, Teron was asking questions about Brian Callahan and some of the maturation that Brian Callahan has shown as, I think he used the term, a manager of people. And Jeffrey Simmons didn't quite understand the question at first. And he's like, what do you mean by that? But said it in sort of this defensive tone. And I just think that Jeffrey Simmons probably has, to use the word I used earlier, a general distrust of the people who cover the Titans every day. So as I was sitting there listening to Jeffrey Simmons speak, again, I am careful to criticize players who I have not covered because I don't know Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons does not know me. I will never call Jeffrey Simmons soft because I certainly have no leg to stand on calling a professional athlete soft. I am not doing that here. I just think that Jeffrey Simmons does himself a disservice when he handles himself in these situations when there are quote unquote controversies with the Titans or something that he does. I just think that he doesn't diffuse those situations. Oftentimes, I think his responses make them a little bit worse.
I think Jeff, I think because of what has happened over the last 2 seasons, he's in defensive mode now. So anything that may seem, not good about him or that is written or said that is not good about him, he's going to get very defensive. Because he's been hearing all of these things over the last 2 years, and some of it he's caused, but he's hearing he needs to be traded and all this other stuff, and how he's not a leader and this and that. And I would advise him, and it's hard, but I know it's hard to do, but I would advise him, just don't pay attention to it. But he can't, and he won't. He will continue. That's just his personality. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes you use that to motivate you. But I think Jeff is at a point now where he's on the defensive about anything that comes from the media here. It's not even the media national. Titans ain't getting that much national news.
No.
But it's about the guys and girls that are here. And in particular, certain guys, ain't no girls on this list, certain guys that he's become defensive toward, no matter what the question is. And unfortunately, I mean, it's not going to change anytime soon.
615-737-1025. Your thoughts on Jeffrey Simmons' response to the skirmish he had with Cam Ward at practice the other day. How do you think Jeffrey Simmons handled it? 615-737-1025. Coming up next, Trevor Maddich will join us. I am curious for his thoughts on this. We will also break down the Titans preseason game against the Falcons from over the weekend. Looking forward to getting Trevor's thoughts on all of that. That is coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Crowd, keep cheering. Where's the crowd for me? Come on, I want the crowd behind me. No,
That's my
okay.
bad. It just faded too
That's
much.
okay. That's okay. Let's talk Loan Pronto. They're cheering because they're delivering the lowest mortgage rates in 3 years. So right now, if you're in a mortgage rate that you kind of got stuck with and it's a little higher because of the circumstances at the time, pay attention right now. The lowest mortgage rates in 3 years. Yes, that's worth some crowd noise. Loan Pronto's rate reduction home loan program is a streamlined, low-cost way to slash your house payments by hundreds of dollars a month. Lock in a fixed rate as low as 4.99% APR and close in as little as 2 weeks. No appraisal needed in most cases. And you can skip your next 2 house payments entirely. It's not going to last, so you need to get on this quick. Lower payments, more money in your pocket, and a fresh start with a better mortgage. 615-499-5780 or visit loanpronto.com to lock in your new low rate and skip those next 2 payments. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLS, consumeraccess.org.
D Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Joined on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, by Trevor Maddich, who is brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. So, Trevor, of course, the Titans made headlines yesterday when Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons got after it a little bit at training camp. Now, there is no footage of this, so we are only going off of what was reported. But here's my question for you, specifically about Cam Ward. How do you feel about Cam Ward being in the middle of it? Do you like his chutzpah, for lack of a better word, being able to poke the bear, so to speak, with Jeffrey Simmons and get mixed up in that sort of thing?
Nope. I don't like it at all. I do not like it at all. Now, it would be one thing if Jeffrey Simmons rushed the passer, and after Ward threw the ball and was looking downfield, Simmons shoved him, and then Ward shoved him back. That's necessary. Ward would have to do that. But you're right, there's no video of this, but I've read, I don't know, a dozen different accounts of it. And I'm going to explain what I gleaned from that, and I want you guys to tell me if that's what you understand as well before I go on, okay? Yep. So my understanding is they were in a red zone drill. Cam threw a touchdown to Calvin Ridley, and then he ran up to celebrate, ran up to Jeffrey, pushed Jeffrey in the back. Jeffrey turned around and shoved Cam in the face, and then the offensive line jumped in, and there was a brouhaha for a little bit of time, and then it was over.
That is correct.
Is that what you guys understand?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then there's a lot to unpack here. One is from Jeffrey's standpoint. One is from the media's standpoint. And one is from what Jeffrey did. What is what Jeffrey said to the media afterwards. But to talk about your question directly, Adam, about Cam, I thought this was a ridiculously immature thing for Cam to do. Just a ridiculous. I'm not saying Cam's an immature man. I'm saying that this particular act was immature. Because when you think about it, they're trying to build camaraderie with this team. They're trying to build cohesiveness with this team. Cam, his effort over the course of any given practice, wearing a red jersey so no one can touch him, amounts to cardio. His frustration happens when, he missed a receiver or a receiver fell down. Oh, okay. That's when the quarterback gets frustrated. Meantime, Jeffrey is battling every play against some of the biggest, most violent, most athletic men on the planet. One of them often is J.C. Latham, the right tackle. Those guys are going at it every play, one way or the other, when they're in drills where it's not just walk-through drills, right? Sometimes you win, and sometimes the other side just gets under your pads and drives you back and embarrasses you. And that's the nature of the game. You don't like it, but you accept it, you line up and run the next play. So after hours of doing that, Cam throws a touchdown pass at the end of this practice. Jeffrey has his back turned. Cam runs up and pushes him in the back. Well, guess what? From Jeffrey's standpoint, you don't know who pushed you in the back. But anytime you get pushed in the back, that's a fight. Sorry, that's a fight. Now you turn around. And Cam did his little zombie move, show up, mocking, in your face kind of move right there in front of Jeffrey. And Jeffrey shoved him back. Didn't punch him. Jeffrey shoved him. Now, Cam walked up to a guy that had been physically battling another 300-plus pound guy for a couple of hours, shoved him in the back, and then mocked him to his face at the end of that long, hot practice. Now, I don't care if they're buddies off the field. It doesn't matter to me. If your buddy's off the field and you want to give him grief after you shower up and get dressed and everybody cools down. I understand that Jeffrey is a guy who does a lot of chirping, a lot of trash talking in practice. So does Cam. So does J.C. Latham. But in this kind of a situation, you make physical contact and then you mock him to his face. You should expect to be pushed. Now, what's happened is this instigated with an unnecessary mockery by the rookie quarterback. We're talking about it on talk radio. Fans are tweeting about it left and right. The media is talking not just to Jeffrey about it. They're talking to Jarvis Brownlee. They're talking to the coach. They're talking to everybody. This is this big old massive giant story that's a huge distraction, and it shouldn't exist at all. Because the quarterback should have had enough respect for his star on defense to not walk up and push him in the back just so that he would turn around to be mocked. Now, I think that was a terrible move by Cam. That doesn't exonerate Jeffrey. You can't put your hands on the quarterback, but right now we're just talking Cam. And I think that Cam, he should apologize not just to Jeffrey, but to the coach and to the fans for instigating what is a huge distraction for a team that doesn't need distractions.
No, you're right in a sense about that, Trevor. I look at it from this standpoint, because and I think it's allowed in a sense because because of what happened some weeks prior when Jeff and Cam were going at it, and everybody loved that. And yes, it was verbal and it was back and forth sparring and everything. They loved that. The fans loved it. So when your quarterback does this in practice, the fan base love it. Why? Because we haven't seen this. We haven't seen an alpha dog on offense that's going to get in someone's face the last 2 seasons. And we've been screaming for that on offense. So when Cam does it, listen, I'm in agreement with you. Cam shouldn't have went up to him and bumped him because you're going to, with a defensive guy, and you explained it right, Trevor, with a defensive guy, they've been battling, and he's just going to go off. But I would rather have that from an offense that has lacked that for the last two seasons or the last 2 years than to not, because this team is looking for an identity. But I get what you're saying, but I think because of what happened initially last week or 2 weeks ago, when another situation comes up like this, the mocking and the celebrating, I think fans are looking at it as this is what we've been wanting. And Cam is looking at it as I did it the first time. There was no big deal. So the second time shouldn't be a big deal either. And I know after it was all said and done, they didn't think it was a big deal. But like you said, you can't, as a quarterback, you got to understand what's going on. And as a defensive guy, you got to understand, even if a quarterback does that, can't put your hands on him. That's just the way it is. There are positions and players in sports that no matter what, they can start a brawl, but you better not touch that guy or girl. You better fight everybody else. And I think that's what Jeffrey understood. But in the moment, like you said, as soon as I got pushed, I ain't trying to look who it is. I'm just turning around and mushing the first person I see that I believe who pushed me, and it was the quarterback. So I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I think the way he answered the questions, I would have liked for it to be a little bit different, but it was what it was. So I agree with you that, Cam shouldn't have done it. It was immature to do, but because he had already did it weeks prior, he probably thought it was okay. And then again, this is, for you and us, Trevor, if we would do exactly what you said, wait till we go in the locker room, and then we would rib you in the locker room, and we would have fun with it. But these kids nowadays, they're not waiting to get in the locker room. They want to show you right then and there so everybody can see it. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. Would you have done it? No. Would I have done it? No. But that's what these kids are doing now.
Now, Demas, I think most people agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
And truthfully, when Cam was standing up for himself with Jeffrey and John with him and all that stuff, I thought that was great too.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about this, though, I see this as different because I don't think it was courageous. He knows that nobody can touch him, so he can mock anybody he wants. That's not courageous. That's easy. And then I don't think it was leadership by Cam. Leadership, if he wants to go celebrate and if he wants to have some good-natured ribbing of the defense, the way to do that is to run into the end zone and celebrate in a big, loud way with Calvin Ridley, who caught the pass, not to shove the defensive tackle who had nothing to do with it really in the back and then mock him to his face. So, and again, I don't know their personal relationship, but I think most people agree with you. And, you make good points, Demas, you do. But I just wish that Cam had handled this differently because we're talking about it today, and this will be talked about until there's something else to talk about.
Talking with Trevor Maddich, and Trevor, there was a really good in-depth article that Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler put together for ESPN, and it went back through a lot of the archives of first picks overall that have had a lot of turmoil and some impatience and pitfalls with the system around them. And there was a great quote in there, and I wish I had it right in front of me, but it's organizations fail quarterbacks just as often as quarterbacks fail, something to that effect.
I have it right here.
Okay.
It was from Dave Ziegler, Titans assistant general manager. You got it basically, Willie.
Okay.
Quote, there's a saying that organizations fail quarterbacks more than quarterbacks fail themselves.
Okay, so let's use Bryce Young and Caleb Williams, who already have seen turnover, quite a bit of it, in the guys calling the shots for him. So the theme of the article is, what can the Titans learn from this? What have they learned? What have they seen? So as you think about that in a broad sense, Trevor, what comes to mind of what they have to avoid?
Well, I think it's a great thing to have to understand, because it's a complex thing. I mean, that article is a wonderful article by TD and by Jeremy, and it was great. Everybody should go read that. But they talked about how the last two head coaches with the number one pick in the draft at quarterback were both fired before the season ended of that quarterback's rookie season. And so there are a variety of reasons, I guess, for that, but it's not like you draft a quarterback number one and then everybody's all happy and rich and goes to the Super Bowl and has a party. And so, I think that you're right. They're bad organizations. I mean, the Chicago Bears have long been known as a place where quarterback careers go to die. The New York Jets, same way. The New York Giants, since Eli, same way. And so we'll see how Daniel Jones does, who was signed from the Giants by the Colts now, and he's their starting quarterback. We'll see if all of a sudden he flourishes where he couldn't in New York. And so, really it comes down to a couple of things that the Titans are saying the right things about. It's about continuity with coaches. It's about learning the quarterback's abilities and the things that he struggles with, and tailoring the offense to his abilities first, protect him from what he struggles with so he can have success while you're working on some of those other things. These are things that they're trying to do with Cam Ward, and I think that's one of the reasons that even after a miserable season last year, they retained this staff. So it's the same head coach, same quarterback coach, same offensive coordinator, and this is all good for Cam Ward's development because he's not having to learn new things. But part of it too is Cam Ward. Because it's not just that organizations fail quarterbacks. Sometimes quarterbacks fail organizations as well. And I kind of think that it's a little bit of both up in Chicago with Caleb Williams. And Cam Ward needs to make sure that he has a personal humbleness to go with a professional arrogance. The professional arrogance means on the field he's got to believe that he's great. But the personal humbleness needs to be that he knows that he's not great yet and he has a lot to learn. And in order for him to maximize his career and his responsibility to his teammates, he needs to do things within the offense the way he's coached and not run around and make plays on his own from his talent like he used to do in college. And the degree to which Cam can submit to that personal humbleness will be the degree to which he does not fail the organization. I think up in Chicago with Caleb Williams, it's a great example. Caleb didn't have, I think, the coaching around him and the personnel around him to do the things that might have maximized his natural talent. But I think his natural tendency is to do what he did that got him the Heisman Trophy and to be the first pick in the draft. And if somebody tells him to do something different, he doesn't want to do it. Right? Cam has to avoid that.
Trevor, real quick, we got about a shorter answer for this, but I want to get your perspective because we had a couple of good different ones based on Cam's performance against the Falcons, right? The stats don't look good, but he clearly took some shots down the field and maybe passed on some check down throws that might have made the stats look easier, might have kept some drives alive. Dan Orlovsky in particular said, hey, I'd rather have a guy test the boundaries a little bit in a preseason game. Are you okay with that philosophy, or are you would like to have seen him take what the defense gives him a little bit more?
I'm okay with that philosophy right now because part of what he needs to know is what are the limitations of his receivers? What can they do down the field? And, as long as once he gets into the regular season, he takes what's there because there's always something there. The defense will always give him something. He needs to recognize that quickly and get the ball there. But, he had some very nice throws that were not complete, that were almost complete, but that were just beautiful. And I thought on a couple of them, the receiver could have done a better job of laying out for the football. But overall, even though he was 2 for 7, I think, against the Falcons, I thought Cam did some really good things that built from the first preseason game. And so I actually am not upset about some of the things that statistically don't look that good because I saw some growth.
Trevor Matich has been our guest on D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick. He is brought to you weekly by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trevor, great stuff as always. We'll catch up next week.
Thanks, guys.
Trevor Matich on the program. We will react to what Trevor had to say because he had a strong take on Cam Ward's involvement in the skirmish with Jeffrey Simmons. And we did get some reaction on our text line during Trevor's segment that we will read. But if you have any sort of reaction, you let us know at 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Hey, it's Derek Mason, and if you're thinking about your home's curb appeal, don't overlook your garage. It's the biggest opening in your house. That's why I always recommend all Four Seasons Garage Doors, owned by Dan Watkins, that is locally run, family-owned business you can trust. They got a huge selection of garage doors. So if you're ready for a new look, this is the place to go for quality. And if you need a fix, whether it's a spring replacement, opener replacement, section replacement, or any repair, they'll get it done right. They can even quiet that noisy garage door opener that has been driving you crazy. Believe me, I had one, still have one, which means I need to call all Four Seasons Garages. Installation, nobody does it better. They're big enough to serve, but small enough to care. That's wonderful to hear. That's why so many Middle Tennesseans trust them with their homes. Check them out online at all4seasonsgarages.com. That's all four, the number 4, seasonsgarage.com. We trust when trust matters. Call all Four Seasons Garage Doors.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Joey from Bellevue on our text line says, Trevor, bring in the heat. His segments are always great. We concur, Joey from Bellevue. By the way, be listening at the end of this segment because we do have tickets to give away. At the end of this segment, I will give you the cue to call, and you can win a 4-pack of tickets to see the Mexican national team face off against Korea Republic at Geodis Park on Tuesday, September 9th. So if you want a chance for those tickets, be listening at the end of this segment. I will give you the cue to call, what caller number you have to be. Again, a 4-pack of tickets to see the Mexican national team face off against Korea Republic at Geodis Park on Tuesday, September 9th. Trevor, as Joey said, bringing the heat on Cam Ward. We've spent so much time talking about Jeffrey Simmons, we haven't talked about Cam Ward. Trevor did not like how Cam Ward handled this, according to the various reports out of camp yesterday. He called it, quote unquote, ridiculously immature of Cam Ward to do what he did. He made sure to note that he doesn't think that Cam Ward is generally ridiculously immature, but he thought what he did to instigate what happened yesterday, because from what we have read, Ward was the instigator. Jeffrey Simmons was running a little hot after a previous play, as Teron Davenport told us yesterday, but Cam Ward rubbed it in a little, and Jeffrey Simmons did not take kindly to that. So, Willie, Derek, what did you think of Trevor's take on Cam Ward's involvement in all of this?
I see one point that he made, and that is, if he doesn't do that, none of this happens, right? He started off a chain of events, and everybody's got to deal with that chain of events, for better or worse. And as he mentioned, a fight could break out. You have to understand that. I still stand by what I said yesterday, so I'm coming up short of ridiculously immature, because I like a guy that wants to keep the competitive nature of a practice stoked. And if that means I stir it up a little bit, that's okay, especially for a franchise that desperately needs a little juicing up, a little shake up. They need, as you said a number of times yesterday, Derek, an alpha dog. He was willing to push the envelope there. But I see his point. If he doesn't do that, because he did that, Jeffrey Simmons has got to deal with the whole fallout of it. Jeffrey Simmons isn't a perfect human being. And it does bring to light one thing that we haven't discussed yet. Cam Ward still has to face the music with the reporters on this. So he needs to be ready, a rookie quarterback. And I do think he'll handle it well. And he probably will get a little easier treatment than Jeffrey Simmons because he's a rookie. And I do think he will take some accountability for what happened there.
Listen, I don't think what Trevor said was right. I go back to what I said previously to Trevor after listening to him. Because of what happened 2 weeks prior, it may not have been the same situation. They may not have been in the exact same situation, but because there was this, back and forth with the quarterback and the most prominent defensive guy you have, he felt once again that, okay, I can do it again. The part that I do believe Trevor was talking about and called immature was the bumping of the defensive player who has just been in a tussle with somebody just as big as he is and just as strong, and he got dominated on that play. So now you're everything's going, you're fueled up, anything can set you off, and then your quarterback comes and do what he normally does, do what he did 2 weeks ago, and rub it in a little bit, or a little bit more than what he did prior. In his mind, he think, oh, the same thing's gonna happen. We just gonna talk. But Jeffrey turns around and mush him. All right, yeah, you were wrong as a quarterback. Yes, that's an immature act. An act of undevelopment, so to speak, in this game. But it still doesn't, give you the right to then turn around and do what you did because it's your quarterback. Now, again, I understand it. I get it. I know what Trevor's talking about. The only reason it happened, I'm telling you, it's because he did it before and there wasn't a big hoopla about it. Actually, what did we talk about? It's good that they did that. Isn't that what we were talking about? Across
in the
all these,
OTAs,
all across these airwaves. That's good that somebody finally went back at Big Jeff. But now we don't like this. Like, you can't do that now. Jeff, you can't touch the quarterback. You can't, Jeff, touch the quarterback. I get that part. But Cam did it because he did it once and it was okay with everybody. So he feel this is Jeff and I's, a relationship.
At the end of the day, this really isn't that big of a deal.
It's not. But I get what Trevor was saying.
Right. But it's. I don't think it's really that much of a distraction. It's a slow news day.
Mhm.
It's a competitive practice. It's a team that is fighting for an identity, and you've got two major characters in that story. And in this town, especially, there's not much else going on right now. So it's drama. It's a soap opera.
The best bad teams are the ones that have drama. The Titans have been the worst kind of bad team recently. The bad, boring team, at least in my opinion.
Will Levis was not boring.
I guess that's true.
Nah, he was anything but boring.
You love the chaos of Will Levis. You love the chaos.
You might be right about that. Kevin on our text line says, along similar lines to what Willie was just saying, the only people that think this is an issue is the media. This is not a negative thing. Guys, this is football. It's not a corporate office. These things happen. These things need to happen. If they don't happen, that means you have a team full of softies, which we've had for a long time. Glad it happened. No issues with Cam or Jeff on this one. It's football. I don't really have anything to disagree on Kevin's take on it. I will just say what I said earlier. This is absolutely a story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was blown out of proportion. But again, when the number one overall pick in the NFL draft, who also happens to be a quarterback, that heightens things. Not only was he the number one overall pick, he's a quarterback. When that player gets into a tussle with the best player on the team, the player who ranked, fourth at his position in Jeremy Fowler's positional rankings, talking to league execs and such. When those two players butt heads at practice, that is a story.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if there are any tremors that follow. It doesn't look like there will be. But hey, if it motivates both sides of the ball, it could only be a good thing. 615-737-1025. All right, I promised a giveaway. Here it is. Again, a 4-pack of tickets to see the Mexican national team face off against Korea Republic at Geodis Park, Tuesday, September 9th. Be caller number 4 at 615-737-1025, and you will win that 4-pack of tickets to see the Mexican national team face off against Korea Republic at Geodis Park on Tuesday, September 9th. Willie Dunnick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
I would also add this caveat. Let's not do that again.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
take them both and say, okay.
Yeah, we ain't gonna have this. Let's not have this anymore.
D. Mace Finnegan and Donick 1025, The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. We hope you are having a wonderful day and staying cool. It is hot, hot, hot out there. Tomorrow, guys, I am looking forward to this. We will be live at the brand new Circa Sportsbook at Kentucky Downs. We are taking our show on the road. We are crossing state lines. We are headed to Franklin, Kentucky.
APB, not even an APB. I just want to send out a warning to all chickens and
first of all, they were turkeys.
Turkeys, all turkeys, chickens.
We are headed in that direction. We are headed north.
Raccoons, anything that loves to walk across intersections or roads. Be aware
that Willie Donick
and Adam.
Okay,
Bingo.
so quickly,
be aware of both of them.
Quickly, for those who don't know the story, we'll let Willie tell it. We did the show from Portland a couple of months ago. Willie, why don't you tell our listeners what happened? We carpooled. You and I, we both live in East Nashville. We carpooled. You tell us what happened on the way there.
Well, first of all, you're driving tomorrow.
I am driving.
I think this. I'll be off the hook tomorrow, thankfully. But we were in a rural area as we approached Portland, home of the Panthers. Great high school football atmosphere, great tradition to the north of town. And we were taking a little country road out to where we were doing the show from that day. And on this road, a turkey rose up out of the tall grass and was taking flight. And I assumed that it would get the proper elevation quick enough so that I did not have to decelerate that much. And realized
there was a failure to launch.
He was having a little trouble getting up high enough to clear the car. And I realized this at the last minute. So I slowed down, but I clipped his legs a little bit.
Now, the turkey made contact with the passenger side. Yes. I did not see the attempted ascent by the turkey. I just heard the against the windshield.
Yeah. Ooh.
And it was quite loud.
And I may or may not have screamed. A manly scream.
It was
just to make it clear. It was a manly scream.
It was manly.
A legit manly scream.
Ha!
I may have uttered some phrases.
Hold on, what was the second one?
That is not manly.
It's close.
That is not manly. I may have uttered a phrase I can't say on the air. So tomorrow I will attempt to avoid bludgeoning any turkeys.
But for the record, the turkey continued its flight.
Yes.
Was not grounded by the contact.
Yes.
Appeared to be maybe just a little injured.
Yeah, he did have a busted ACL and MCL.
It was a flesh wound.
And PCL.
We can't confirm that. But
the turkey mafia's out
continued to fly. He was okay. He was okay.
All I'm saying is that.
Keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, keep telling yourself that. And all I'm saying is that don't be surprised if you start to see a gathering of animals around you. Don't think it's all cute. Don't think it's all cute and get ready to rub it because they're coming after both of you.
I sent you a picture of a turkey in Rhode Island that followed me on my jog.
Hey, it's getting around. It's getting around.
The word is out.
So we will
I will not be driving tomorrow.
I am driving. I will attempt to avoid hitting any turkeys on our way to Franklin, Kentucky. Beautiful Franklin, Kentucky. We will be live.
I hope if anything came good out of this, that turkey went around and said, guys, just to let you know, we need to practice. We need to make sure we train our turkeys around the area to elevate quickly.
Yes.
When going across the road.
We need a flight class.
Get up in the air.
Get
the wings going. Get it going. Got
to work on that broad jump, pal.
Get the wind beneath your wings. Yes. Get the wind beneath your wings, young bird.
So we, along with Chase and Big Joe, will be live at the brand new Circa Sportsbook at Kentucky Downs tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Okay. Our friend Teron Davenport and Jeremy Fowler on ESPN.com wrote a great, thorough story about Cam Ward, Brian Callahan, and the Tennessee Titans' historically worrying challenge. And the story focuses not just on Ward and Callahan and the Titans, but also Bryce Young with the Carolina Panthers, Caleb Williams with the Chicago Bears. We're going to talk more about this story over the next couple of days because there are some really interesting philosophical discussions we can have about the development of quarterback. There are some interesting numbers here when it comes to wins and losses. And Willie, I noticed you scribbling on your notepad over there earlier as we were discussing this. But here are some numbers according to ESPN research. Teams that start rookie quarterbacks are a combined 431, 655, and 2 in the NFL's 32-team era, which is since 2002. That is a winning percentage of 397. The list of number one selections with winning records, minimum 3 starts, as a rookie quarterback in the common draft era, which is, I believe, 1967, is one name long, Andrew Luck, in 2012. Most rookie wins, number one overall quarterbacks. Since 1967, Andrew Luck is in a league of his own with 11, followed by Sam Bradford with the Rams in 2010, Baker Mayfield, Jameis Winston, Cam Newton, and Jim Plunkett with 6 wins each in 2018, 2015, 2011, and 1971, respectively. But Willie, I was intrigued by what you were jotting down over there, and you haven't revealed it to us. Well, you kind of revealed it to us, but I want to hear what you were doing over there.
Well, what I did was we had a caller earlier that was talking about how often now the first overall pick ends up being a quarterback. And if you go back to basically the beginning of the Titans, starting with Peyton Manning when he was the first pick in the draft for the Colts, there are now 21. Cam Ward is the 21st quarterback since 1998 to be the first overall pick. So that's a huge percentage, over 80%. I think my math is right close to it. And so it really shouldn't be about what happens the first year, because the number one pick in the draft is by definition going to the worst team in the league, except in the case of Eli Manning, who was traded to the Giants, right? The Chargers made the pick. They had the first pick, but there was a trade, and so he ended up on the Giants, who weren't great. And Eli Manning didn't start on day one, but he went to the Giants and not the Chargers. But that being said, 21 picks who were the first in the draft since 1998. I wanted to do a little study just on return on investment, what you guys, the three of us, thought the team would say, right? What would you say? Did the team get satisfactory return on their investment? So there are 20 guys to evaluate. And long story short, we end up with about a 50-50 ratio. There's still a couple that the jury is out, of course. But it shouldn't be about how they do their rookie year. It's really, at the end of the day, is this guy a success? Does that team look back and say, yep, that was a great use of the number one pick in the draft?
Now, let me
But
ask,
the batting average is about 50%.
Now, let me ask you this question, because there are going to be examples of this on your list. Are we solely looking at the player's production with the team that drafted them, or are we also including, let's say that player gets traded and the player on the other end of the deal turns out well for the team? Jared Goff is going to be on your list, right? Jared Goff was traded for Matthew Stafford. So do we include that in the calculus for the LA Rams?
It's the team's return on investment.
Okay.
That would be a return on the investment.
Okay.
That's an extension of the asset, right? A trade.
Fair enough.
All right. So here's what we had. This is what the three of us, without a ton of research, did. And this is where I will throw it to the callers and texters to see if they agree with this. Easy, yes. Satisfactory return on investment. Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Michael Vick, Carson Palmer. Remember, this is the yes. And you might be sitting there going, I don't know, man. I hope Cam Ward's better than Michael Vick. He's the first pick in the draft. I hope he's better than Carson Palmer. He's the first pick in the draft. These are the success stories that we said, yes, these are good players worth the first pick. Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Michael Vick, Carson Palmer, Matthew Stafford, Cam Newton, Andrew Luck, Jared Goff, and Joe Burrow. That's 9 that we all agreed were an easy yes, right? Then we had the easy no's. Tim Couch, David Carr, Jamarcus Russell, Sam Bradford, Jameis Winston. I think if I asked a Titans fan, would you take Jameis Winston's career for Cam Ward? I think it would be overwhelmingly no. I want better than that.
Yeah.
Right? So that's 5. And then right now, Bryce Young and Caleb Williams are in the easy no, but we do have to put a star by those two names and saying they're still young, right? There's still time.
Second year.
There's still time to dig out of this hole that they're
Second
in.
and third year.
But it hasn't gone well for either one of those guys yet. Both coaches have been fired.
Mhm.
They're on different coordinators. We'll see. Then we debated these 4. To me, these are debatable. Alex Smith. If I told Titans fans, would you take Alex Smith and his career journey for the 49ers? Would the 49ers say, yeah, that was worthy of the first pick? Or would a Titans fan say, yeah, I'd take that for Cam Ward? I don't know. I think he's a no. He's good. Would you take that? Remember, some of his good years were with the Chiefs after the 49ers traded. I don't know what they got for Alex Smith in the trade. That might sway you one way or the other.
I'll have to look. Here are some quick reactions on our text line from Caleb. If Ward is better than any of those yes guys, then Titans will be in great shape.
Well, yeah.
Skylar,
that's an obvious.
Skylar says, I would pay.
But the bottom line is that there's only 9 of those guys.
I would pay good. Skylar says, I would pay good money for Cam Ward to be as good as Michael Vick.
Okay. But that's what we agree. Those are the yeses.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. There's 7 guys that we're not taking. And then there's 4 that we're debating. Alex Smith, Baker Mayfield, which was one that Paul Karski brought up in the summer. Would you take Baker Mayfield's career run? Remember, he's resurrected. So the Browns did that. The Browns basically cast off Baker Mayfield, right? He's been in a couple places between his time with the Browns and what he's doing now for the Bucks. So to me, he's a no for the Browns. Did the Browns get great return on investment? They got a nice year, the 1 year. They beat the Steelers in the playoff game. But for the first pick in the draft, they didn't get return on investment for him. So I say he's a no. Kyler Murray is a big debatable one. He's good, but what has he really done? He doesn't have these franchise-changing wins in the playoffs. He's still their quarterback, right? So that's a meh. And then Trevor Lawrence is the one that also would fall into that category, right? Underwhelming, a lot of coaching changes. Kyler Murray and Trevor Lawrence, still the jury's out. There's time for them with their respective teams, but that's a very mushy middle one. So my point is this. There's so much riding on Cam Ward. He's inheriting the worst roster in the league by definition of being the first pick. He's got not a lot of help around him. That's very difficult to succeed in that, and history has shown it's about a 50-50 shot that it works.
I do want to debate one. I
Okay.
thought this would be interesting. I want to debate one player we put in our yes category and one player we put in our no category.
Okay.
Carson Palmer versus Jameis Winston. I want to debate that because when you hear Carson Palmer, I do think a lot of football fans go, ugh. Carson Palmer started 97 games over 7 years for the Cincinnati Bengals between 2004 and 2010. He had a 46-51 record. He made it to the playoffs twice. He did not win games in either of those postseasons, but he made the Pro Bowl twice, and in his second year finished 5th in MVP voting. So,
yeah,
I think Carson Palmer,
it's debatable.
Right. Jameis Winston, we know that Jameis Winston famously had the 30-30 season, his final season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 33 touchdowns, 30 interceptions.
30-30, not in a good Howard Johnson, Barry Bonds kind of way.
Right. Despite that, he had 121 passing touchdowns versus 88 interceptions.
That's not good.
So now that I read it out loud, I was like, that might be debatable. I don't think it's as much of a debate as I thought with Carson Palmer.
Carson
versus
Palmer,
Jameis Winston.
I think is a little bit more in the Kyler Murray category of debatable. But you get my point, right? Whether we take, would you take that right now because he's a rookie and you've got hopes that are really high? He's our man, Cam Ward. I was in a sporting goods store today. Cam Ward jerseys all up and down for sale, right? Overwhelmingly 5-to-1 ratio on any other Titan jersey that's in there. The hopes are sky high. Franchise quarterback. He's our guy. Let's win a Super Bowl. But if you look at history, it's 50-50 whether you will sit there as a Titan fan saying, yeah, I'll take that. And we're talking with thumbs up on Michael Vick. Thumbs up on who was the other one that a caller threw out there? I'll take Andrew Luck, right? These are guys that didn't win Super Bowls, right?
Mm.
The only guys that have won Super Bowls or even been to a Super Bowl are Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Cam Newton, Joe Burrow. That's it.
Michael Vick was 38-28-1 as a starter over 6 years in Atlanta.
We know what happened. What ultimately shut
Yes.
down his career.
Look, he's really good, but I'm setting the bar here of how difficult this is.
If you tell me in the first 3 years that you're going to get Carson Palmer play, I'm raising my hand for it. The first 3 years of his career, I'm raising my hand for it all day, every day.
Yeah.
If I'm getting that,
that's ultimately why I think the three of us agreed that he was on the yes list.
He was on the yes list because if I can get out of Cam, now that Cincinnati is just they were a dumpster fire organization, so they didn't have much to work with.
And,
he had
ultimately,
players,
remember,
but
he refused to play for
exactly.
He retired and then got traded. Forced to trade
to Arizona. To Oakland,
he went to
Oakland, then
another
Arizona.
dysfunctional
In his
organization.
first 3 years in Cincinnati,
he made 2 Pro Bowls.
Yep, Carson Palmer had a 25-20 record, 78 touchdowns, 43 interceptions, threw for 10,768 yards.
He's a talent, right?
Yes.
There's no doubt he was worth the first pick in the draft.
Right, but oftentimes people have this thought that, I'm going to use a banned word here, but I'm doing it for the context of this conversation.
Don't say it. Don't
The
do
G
it.
word. The G word. People want the G word. If you are going to be the number 1 pick in a draft, you must be the G word.
Right.
But there's a reason why the G word is the G word. Generational, for those of you who don't know which word I'm talking about, which has been banned on our program.
Mm-hmm.
Because those players come around once in a generation. So I think people, not just in football, in baseball, in basketball, in hockey, if you are the number 1 pick in the draft, you've got to be generational. But there are only so many Joe Burrows and Bryce Harpers and Connor McDavids and Cooper Flags running around. That's why those players are called generational, because they don't come around very often.
That would be like once every 20 years by definition of a generation.
Yes.
But you're just looking to say, yeah, that guy was definitely worth the first pick. And it's about 50-50. And then you get into all of the pitfalls that happen early in a guy's career that have set back Bryce Young and Caleb Williams, to name 2, the 2 most recent. All of the coaching changes. And that's really why this started, is we've been talking about ESPN's article that Tehran did along with Jeremy Fowler about what's ahead for the Titans, the challenges of trying to keep that continuity and support system around the first pick in the draft, and then find out if the guy can play.
615-737-1025. We will take your reaction coming up next. We will get back into this conversation and read your reaction on the other side. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025. The Game.
Derek Mason here, and if you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. They understand how much your bike gear is worth to you and will get it all replaced, or better yet, or get it all repaired, or better yet, replaced. Law Tigers is the resource the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support an event that you're in, or if they see you broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fuson, and you can find them in Nashville at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025, 1063. The game, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Talking about the hit rate of players, specifically quarterbacks, taken with the number one overall pick. One texter says, I can't tell whether Willie is trying to temper expectations or trying to make everyone look through cynical eyes. Have you met Willie Donick? There is nothing wrong with having hope unless you are someone who considers hope a word of sin.
I was a history major at Vanderbilt. I believe in the notion that we learn from studying history. That's why we study history, is so we learn from the past. And I think sometimes we have seen it with the 7th pick or the 11th pick, or let's use Corey Davis, the 5th pick in the draft. Every year that he didn't have 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns, he was the 5th pick in the draft. What's wrong with this guy? He was always underwhelming. And even when he played well, it was never good enough because he was the 5th pick in the draft. That's the 5th pick. It's even more so for the 1st pick. But if you look at history, and I've always asked people to try this exercise sometime. When you're bored and you say to yourself, yeah, I got some free time on my hands. Yeah, I have no life. Yeah, I'm a sports junkie. Adam and I have this every day. Sometimes. Not every day, maybe. Take 10 drafts, pick a number between 1 and 10, and look at the 10 players picked with that pick. I will guarantee you'll have the same chart that we have for the 1st pick. You'll have some in the column of, yeah, that's a really good pick. Then you'll have 2 or 3 of them, and you're like, whoa, what were they thinking with that pick? And then there'll be a couple that you kind of debate to yourself, yeah, he was okay. He was all right. But there's an expectation level of a top 10 pick that is unrealistic based on what you perceive of that.
And we will talk about a certain number 4 overall pick in just a little bit as we continue to have this conversation. Let's go to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com and welcome in Trey. Trey, thank you for waiting. Please go ahead.
Hey guys.
Hey, Trey.
Hey, Trey.
Hey. So Cam Ward got excited for throwing a bomb to Kevin Ridley, and then he's gonna go and push Jeffrey Simmons and the biggest, baddest dude on the team in the back in celebration. One, has he ever thrown a bomb before to a receiver and they caught it cleanly? And how did that ball look? Did it look like a duck or was it on the line? And Willie, I don't know what kind of line you say Cam Ward throwing that ball on, but it ain't looking good. And I love y'all. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks, Trey.
Thank you, Trey. Trey's down on Cam, huh? Trey's down on Cam.
I will say this. He doesn't throw a tight spiral. He's not going to be mistaken for Warren Moon the way he throws.
He's wearing his number, though.
Yep, he got permission. Warren Moon, I haven't heard anything about that story recently. I don't know if they've checked in or Warren Moon has been available. But if Warren could help tighten up his spiral a little bit, that might help. Like Peyton Manning didn't throw the prettiest ball. He got it done.
Got it there. That's all. Get it done, Tivity. Get it done, Tivity.
He had the get it done activity. There's no question. So I'm nitpicking, but I am. Let's take a line out of the Jeremy Fowler article. Okay, I found this to be interesting. They had a couple unnamed guys, right, that Fowler checked on, and they were sort of asking, is he a number 1 pick kind of talent? And it came back to a little bit of what we talked about prior to the draft. He's not the hands down Caleb Williams, Peyton Manning, Joe Burrow. Oh, yeah, there's no doubt this is the best player in this draft. There were questions, right, of can he read the defense? And there were questions of, does he hold the ball too long, right? He's not a hands down. He has the talent. Now let's see if he develops into a winning great quarterback.
The line that you are referring to, quote, rival teams see work to be done. One executive with an NFL team who has scouted Ward this preseason said he's a, quote, very gifted thrower, but, quote, has a tough time reading defenses versus pressure, end quote, and, quote, likes to hold the ball, end quote. Similar criticisms that Caleb Williams faced in Chicago this past year. The difference is that Williams is widely considered the better passer.
Right. Williams had the off-the-chart kind of grades from the draft gurus, right? For better or worse.
Yeah.
The physical tools.
I think Cam has the physical tools as well.
Just like, Julio Jones had an unbelievable physical tools. You were probably not graded quite as high, but your production is close to his.
Exactly.
When you get down to it.
No, it is. And it's we may not look exactly alike, even though we play the same position, but the production is about the same. And so if you want to compare Cam, to a tight spiral thrower or his ability to sort of get out the pocket or whatever. Where's the production? I mean, every quarterback isn't the same, but where's the production? And, Cam hasn't gotten into a season, so we can't say where the production is at yet. But like Trevor said, there were some things he got better at from game 1 to game 2. And yeah, the balls wasn't tight spirals, but they got there. And it wasn't because of him that the play wasn't a plus play for the team. It's because of drop passes and missed assignments. So, Cam is, whatever you may think about him is early. And hopefully Trey isn't completely out on Cam. But, as the season goes on, we will understand, more of who Cam is.
I liked something that Trevor said when Willie, you asked him about what the two of you discussed yesterday after I stepped out, about Dan Orlovsky's point of view on testing the limits versus Tim Hasselbeck's point of view. Hey, sometimes you got to take what the defense gives you. And I liked what Trevor said about he's not just testing himself, he's testing his receivers to see what they can do. And I know that one of the common things that fans look for in a number 1 pick is elevating the roster, because we know that the Titans have a lackluster roster. That's putting it lightly. But I'm sure there are a lot of fans that say, hey, if Cam Ward is worthy of being the number 1 pick, he is going to elevate that roster. He is going to make it better because he himself can make it better. Keep in mind, The Ringer, Sheil Kapadia, this article just came out, or he just posted it on X, and I saw it, ranked every NFL offense, 1 to 32. Titans, number 31. I'm not going to tell you who's number 32. Let's just skip past that. It's the Saints. Sheil Kapadia writes, quote, the hardest thing to predict in the NFL is whether a rookie quarterback will be good. I like Cam Ward. He's fun. He's talented. He should be entertaining. But the baseline I'm working with here is that most rookie quarterbacks struggle. Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud are exceptions, not the norm. The Titans wisely built up their offensive line in the offseason, but that should give Ward a chance. But the pass-catching group behind Calvin Ridley is quite thin. Also, do we know if Brian Callahan is a good coach? What did we learn about him in his first season in Tennessee, other than that he wanted to rip Will Levis's head off every week? Ward makes the Titans watchable and relevant, but this group will likely struggle.
You know why I think and maybe they will not struggle. Because bringing up Jaden Daniels in the Commanders, the one essential thing they had that the Titans do not have, they have an experienced play caller.
Cliff Kingsbury.
Yes. He may not have been a great coach.
No.
But he is an experienced play caller. He's a damn good play caller. So when you have that and a guy with skill and ability to run that offense, you're in the driver's seat already. The problem is with Titans, this is only his second year at calling plays. His second year at calling plays. He didn't call plays in Cincinnati. He didn't call plays in Denver or wherever else he was. And listen, he just wasn't at that point in his career yet. But it worked for Jaden Daniels because he had an experienced, good play caller. May not have been a good coach, but his offense proved that it can work if ran by the right guy. He had some success with Kyler Murray in Arizona. He did. The team may not have been great every year, but I believe they end up going to a playoff with Cliff Kingsbury.
According to Pro Football Reference, here are the rankings for points for Cliff Kingsbury as head coach of the Cardinals and offensive coordinator of the Redskins. Redskins, Commanders, man. Duh. Sorry. My bad, everybody. Cardinals 2019, 16th. Cardinals 2020, 13th. Cardinals 2021, 11th. Cardinals 2022, 22nd. Actually, I'm reading the wrong list. 16th in 2019, 13th in 2020, 11th in 2021, 21st in 2022, 5th in 2024.
Which goes back to Kyler Murray.
He got hurt. Kyler Murray got hurt that year too, didn't he?
he's
I think
been
he
hurt a
missed the
little bit.
second half of the season.
But those numbers also
Yeah.
define of Kyler Murray, first pick in the draft, the middling ups and downs. He can look great for a month,
but
and then not so great. Like
Kingsbury had a good off his philosophy
yeah.
and the way he called games. It worked. So when he goes to the Commanders with a seasoned head coach, everything works for a quarterback that has the skill set to do exactly what you want to do within that offense. I'm hoping, because this is Callahan's second year as a play caller, we will not get those first-year mistakes, which will help Cam Ward, who has the ability to play this position at a high level. We've seen the skill set. Now we just need to match him with a good play caller. Why do you think it worked so well with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid? Because he was a great play caller, and Patrick Mahomes has all the skill sets and the tools you need to be an elite quarterback.
Let's go to James in Ashland City on our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hunter.com. James, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Oh, it's always good to talk to you guys. I just want to say this. The reason why is I heard somebody say we all believe the Titans are going to struggle. I don't think they're going to struggle as bad as people think they are. Now, I don't know how many wins that's going to translate to. And here's the biggest reason why. And we've all seen it in practice with the first squad in. That offensive line, guys, has improved tenfold. We don't have any more Andre Dillards, no Petit Ferrer, no Dylan Radins, no Aaron Brewer. We had a bunch of garbage on that line for the last 2 years, and that's why Cam Ward's going to be more successful because he's going to have more time to throw the ball. And anytime any good quarterback has time to throw the ball, they're just not going to struggle as bad as people think they are, in my personal opinion, because the offensive line's better. And also, the biggest difference between Cam Ward and what's his name?
Jaden Daniels?
No, not Jaden Daniels. The
Will
guy
Levis.
from Kentucky. Levis, thank you. I don't know why I had a mental block there.
No, don't worry.
Levis just has happy feet. Levis gets too excited. He just, where Cam is kind of like Hendon Hooker in the sense that he's calm in the pocket. He's not rattled. He's going through his progression. Levis never did that. Levis, I just never understood why they wasted a draft pick on that guy. You go back to his senior year, watch him at Kentucky, he was terrible. But anyway, the point is, guys, I just don't think that the Titans are going to struggle offensively as bad as everybody's going to. And Calvin Ridley's going to have a breakout year. I'll hang up and hear what you got to say. Thank you for let me take my call.
Thank you.
Did we all the offensive line is the one area where they have taken the time to put investment in over the last couple of years. So it's sort of built in. There's a chance for them to, coming in as the worst roster. That's one area that they put some thought, some invest,
and you know what that allows? That allows them to run the football. And you what that
in theory,
in theory, but you know what that allows you to do? Play action and hit guys over the middle. Gunnar Helm, be prepared for a big season. If that offensive line blocks the way they have been blocking, Gunnar Helm will have those tight ends, let's just say the tight ends, they will have really good seasons, better than they have in previous years. Why? Because when you can run the ball effectively, you play action, you hit those guys over the middle.
615-737-1025. We all have brain farts. I said Washington Redskins. When was the last time they were known as the Redskins?
Oh, man.
My bad, guys.
At least you didn't say the football team.
Yeah. Oh, I hated that. The football team.
What did you hate more? The Washington football team or the Utah Hockey Club?
Oh, Utah Hockey Club. Utah Hockey Club. Yeah, absolutely.
Although
hands down.
I'm not thrilled with the Mammoth right now. I don't know if that's a great name or not.
I don't like the Mammoth either. So there you go.
615-737-1025. Speaking of all of the things we've been talking about, one team in the AFC South is experiencing a crisis, which happens when you don't hit on a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, especially at quarterback. And we'll discuss that next. To wrap up the show, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Derek Mason here, and if you've heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time, if you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a resolution to shed some extra pounds, only to face disappointment. But I got some news and some good ones, okay? Because at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his staff understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize, as they did me, a program specific to you and you only. And I need to testify, it has helped me tremendously. I dropped some weight, that the desired weight I wanted to drop, I did, and I'm feeling great. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025, the game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. We spent so much time talking about drafting quarterbacks with premium draft picks, and how it's really a crapshoot. And the Indianapolis Colts are finding that out firsthand. The Colts have not made the playoffs since 2020. The Colts have not won a playoff game since 2018. The Colts have not won the AFC South since 2014. And today, the Colts announced that Daniel Jones will be their starting quarterback over Anthony Richardson. Asked if this was intended to be a permanent move, Colts coach Shane Steichen said of Jones, quote, "He's our starting quarterback for the season. I don't want to have a quick leash on that. I feel confident in his abilities." Now, let me just read you some numbers about Daniel.
A jaw dropper.
Let me just read you some quotes, some stats about Daniel Jones. And you know, I have a soft spot for Daniel Jones because he attended Duke University. But let me tell you, this was provided by...
Why didn't you try to take Arlo to the football stadium then?
Well, it's right next to Cameron Stadium.
Probably a little easier to get in there.
Yes. Wallace Wade Stadium right next door.
Didn't even take the time.
This is from Michael F. Florio, not to be confused with Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk. This is a different Michael F. Florio, yes.
Wow, that's news to me.
Who also covers football. Since 2023, among 32 quarterbacks with 500 plus pass attempts. So 32, remember that number. Daniel Jones, 3-13 record, last. Pass yards per attempt, 5.9, 31st. Passing touchdowns to interceptions, 10 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, last. Sacked per game, 3.7, 31st. Passer rating, 76.6, last. And the Colts felt more comfortable going with Daniel Jones than Anthony Richardson.
It's astonishing. Remember, he was sort of on the outs. Then he had the nice bounce back season in the contract year where they won a road playoff game.
Against
they were
Minnesota.
Unexpectedly good, which got him another contract, and then dipped it down to where he currently is. So basically, those are the numbers since that bounce back
But
season,
he's been
right?
that bad. And the Colts still felt more comfortable starting Daniel Jones.
And that's the part of the story.
Over Anthony Richardson.
And look, we said it last year when we were, before the draft, we were looking at the exploratory names that will be out there. We did say, and people were laughing and mocking him. We were like, Daniel Jones is going to end up with a decent shot at the job, and give him credit. He's won the job, but it really is more about Richardson than Daniel Jones, right?
And remember these quotes from Mike Sando's quarterback tiers. Here are some of the quotes. One defensive coach, quote, "They are not ready to say they effed up, but they are hedging." Another one.
If you updated that article, would that coach then say, "We effed up"?
Another anonymous voter. "The Anthony Richardson experiment is over," which is now true, apparently.
I am thunderstruck.
Ooh.
Yes. Thank you. I am thunderstruck that this has happened. It in the matter of, what is this, his third year?
It's his third year?
It will be his third year.
He got hurt his first year. He got hurt his second year. Then he got hurt in preseason this year.
Right. He got blown up.
Yes, and it's his fault. But you drafted a quarterback that had all but 10 starts. Was it 10 or 12, somewhere around there? Had all but, he didn't have over 18 starts in his college career. Probably less than that. So you draft.
He played 24 games.
How many did he start?
On Sports Reference, it doesn't say starts. He started 12 games at Florida in 2022, 8 the year before, and then 4 the year before.
So you drafted a guy. I was talking more so college. So yeah. So he's played under 15
He started,
games.
yes.
So in college, he played only 12 games. You draft him 4th overall because of the talent that you see. He gets hurt the first year because the offensive line was trash. I mean, it wasn't that good to have guys hurt, but he gets hurt the first year. He gets hurt the second year, running the football again, I believe. And then he gets blasted, his fault, the third year, which is this year, in preseason, and he breaks his finger, which ain't going to sideline you for the whole year, but okay. So after 2 years, basically, you said, enough with this, I'm going to go with another bust. Albeit that bust did take the Giants to a playoffs and did get a second contract, which I was thunderstruck by that as well. But you're saying everyone in that building needs to be fired. Everyone. From the GM, who's been there forever, to the head coach. If you are starting Daniel Jones, who was considered a bust for the Giants, over another guy you drafted 4th overall in a matter of really 2 years, yeah, everybody needs to be fired. Everybody. But obviously, I'm sure they're not going to. Well, they may do it if the season starts off bad. They may get him out of there and everybody else. But that is just like, that's crazy just to think about that.
here I'm thinking back. It just shows you how much of an inexact science this is. Number one, I point this out every time. Cam Ward and Anthony Richardson. One guy's in his first year. Hope is high. One guy's in his third year.
Hope is dead.
Hope is dead. He's been written off. It's over, is what the quote was, right?
The Anthony Richardson experiment.
So
it's
apparently,
over.
you're only experimenting with the 4th pick in the draft, which that amazes me too. If
That's
was
not
just
an experiment.
that should be we're investing on this guy because we believe. But he's in his 3rd year. They're the same exact age.
3 days apart.
Born 3 days apart. But here's the other thing. Here was everything that was talked about. Not only did they draft Richardson, but the coach that they hired was brought in to run the Eagles offense, Shane Steichen, in the same mold of, wow, here's a more athletic, more talented version of Jalen Hurts. That was the vision. But it goes to show you, no two quarterbacks are the same. You can have the vision, the plan. It seemed to make sense at the time.
The vision wasn't 2020, Willie, because what he failed to realize, and the Indianapolis Colts failed to realize, is that Jalen Hurts had played a lot of football in college.
Yes.
A bunch.
A lot of football.
And he won a national championship. Yeah, he won a national championship, even though the quarterbacks got kind of switched out.
Right.
But he won the SEC championship for them.
Right. And then went to Oklahoma and got them to the playoffs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when they made that decision, that's why everybody needs to be fired. Because you can't say, Steichen, oh, I did it with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts had double the stars in college that Anthony Richardson got. And Jalen Hurts was a better passer than Anthony Richardson. So that system you was trying to run, it was never going to work. So whoever convinced you or you convinced them or all y'all were in agreement, all of y'all need to be gone.
This shows exactly what happens when you take a risk on a player at that high.
But at the time, when we say a risk, aren't we saying that every pick is a risk? Because nobody was surprised that he went 4th.
But this was the biggest risk because of the games not played or games played.
It was, but I don't think people were saying, oh, man, I had him 15th or 16th. Everybody knew he was going to go in the top 5 or 6, right?
He was a top prospect.
Even with the other guys that were in the mix there with Stroud and Bryce Young and all those guys.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing what you can think about a guy before a draft and then so quickly look back on it and say, what were we thinking? Right? I hope that doesn't happen with Cam Ward, but this is why I always point out that when you have the first pick and you have the options that they have, why didn't they consider this? Anybody could be Cam Ward, right? You don't think you're the guy that could be wrong, but I'm sure the Colts were going back like, wait, where did we go wrong? We had Shane Steichen was a really good coach, and we did all the homework on Richardson, and he threw the ball that hit the Jumbotron, and he can run like a deer. But it's a disaster.
Yeah.
It can happen, no matter how sure you might be.
It is happening.
It's happening.
And I don't blame it on Richardson.
Like Bridesmaids, when Maya Rudolph goes into the street, sits down, and goes, it's happening. After they had the food poisoning.
Well,
it's happening.
What Maya Rudolph was doing in that scene is what's happening to the Colts right now. That's exactly what's happening.
But you know what? I don't care. I'm glad it's happening. Because you know what that does? That put the Titans closer to not being last in the division. So thank you, Indianapolis coach. Keep going with the dumpster fire. And I hope Jacksonville ends up being a dumpster fire too.
Now don't let Daniel Jones beat you like Joe Flacco beat you last year and Gardner Minshew beat you the year before.
Well, how many backup quarterbacks beat the Titans last year?
Too many.
A few.
Mac Jones, anyone?
Oh, man, you're right.
That was a couple of times.
Yeah, you're right. Mac Jones.
The Titans faced a lot of backup quarterbacks last year, and they did not perform
and
well.
the bad part about it,
I can find the exact list if you give me a hot
I think we were talking
Malik
about
Willis, anyone?
I think we were talking about Mac Jones may be, because he's done here. He may be able to come
Mac
here.
Jones.
And then actually I saw him. I said, no, I don't want that guy.
The Titans faced last year Malik Willis instead of Jordan Love,
Loss.
Tyler Huntley instead of Tua,
Win.
Joe Flacco instead of Anthony Richardson,
Loss.
Sam Darnold instead of J.J. McCarthy.
Loss.
You can quibble with that one if you want. Mac Jones instead of Trevor Lawrence
Loss.
twice, and Davis Mills instead of C.J. Stroud.
Oh, wow.
Nick.
So they lost to Davis Mills.
Did they lose week 18? They did, obviously, because they got
Yeah.
the number one
They,
pick.
they weren't really trying to win.
Yeah, they
Yes.
weren't trying to. So they lost.
Remember
to
they put
Mac
Levis in the
Jones
game?
They lost to
twice.
Mac Jones twice, Malik Willis, Davis Mills.
And who else?
Who
Well,
else?
you can't count Darnold.
Yeah,
Darnold
Darnold.
was pretty entrenched at that point.
So you got 4 losses against backup quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I saw Mac Jones, I said, man, no, I don't want him. I don't want him to come in. But still, he beat the Titans. That shows you how bad their roster
They lost
was
to Mac
last year.
Jones twice?
Yes, I believe
Man.
so.
No, we need to check that. I think they lost to once. He may only played the first game.
I'll have to look this up. I've wiped last season from my memory.
Because they lost to Jacksonville both times.
Indeed.
Wow.
Yep, they lost 10-6.
Oh wow.
And 20-13.
Wow.
10-6.
10.
Think
to
about
6.
that. 10-6 to Matt Jones.
Ugh, that's how bad it. Nowhere to go but up, Titans. That'll do
That's
it.
how you get the first pick in the draft.
Exactly.
That'll do it for us today. A reminder, we, along with Chase and Big Joe, will be live from the brand new Circus Sportsbook at Kentucky Downs in Franklin, Kentucky tomorrow. Looking forward to being out there. Road trip. We will try not to bludgeon any turkeys on our way up there, but we will talk to you tomorrow at 3:00.
Be loved, love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, wonderful Tuesday. Again, I love you. We love you. Love on your people. Peace.